From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. The Philippines Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, on Monday morning suspended classes in all levels and government work in the National Capital Region, or NCR, due to heavy rainfall. The DILG has been authorized by Malacañang Palace to declare class suspensions during inclement weather and disasters. Besides NCR, classes and government work have also been suspended in the provinces of Cavite, Bulacan, Laguna, Quezon, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Albay, Catanduanes, Sorsogon, Masbate, Northern Samar, Occidental Mindoro, Antique, Negros Occidental, Pampanga, and Rizal. In its 4 o'clock weather forecast, the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, said a low-pressure area, or LPA, was estimated based on all available data at 570 kilometers east-northeast of Virac, Catanduanes, or 695 kilometers east of Daet, Camarines Norte. The State Weather Bureau added that the southwest monsoon, or habagat, is affecting the western sections of central and southern Luzon, Visayas, and the northern section of Mindanao. In a separate advisory issued at 5 in the morning, PAGASA said the provinces of Quezon, Camarines Norte, and Camarines Sur were forecast to receive 50 to 100 millimeters of rainfall on Monday due to the LPA, while the provinces of Occidental Mindoro, Palawan, and Antique were forecast to receive the same amount of rainfall on Monday due to the southwest monsoon.
Dateline Malacañang.
Recognizing the tourism sector as one of the key drivers of the nation's economy, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. leads the awarding of the Turismo Ascenso Loan Program during a ceremony at the Marriott Hotel in Pasay City on Monday. Fulfilling his directive to generate more tourism-related employment opportunities by leveraging the steady increase in both foreign and domestic tourist arrivals, the Department of Tourism, or DOT, and the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, formalized a partnership through a Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, signed last April 2025. The Turismo Ascenso Loan Program, DOT Livelihood Support for Tourism, Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises, or MSMEs, is a result of this partnership, implemented through the Small Business Corporation, or SB Corp, under the DTI. The program is designed to empower tourism MSMEs by providing access to low-interest financing, allowing them to expand operations, enhance visitor services, and contribute more significantly to the sector's sustainable growth. This collaboration between the DOT and DTI reflects their shared commitment to harnessing tourism as a catalyst for inclusive and sustainable growth, fostering trade and investment opportunities, strengthening tourism enterprises, and promoting globally competitive and responsible tourism development.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Malacañang on Sunday announced that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has accepted the resignation of Public Works and Highways or DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan effective September 1st. In his resignation letter, Bonoan expressed support for the administration's push for accountability, transparency, and reform amid ongoing investigations into anomalous flood control projects. According to a Palace news release, the president appointed Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon as the new DPWH chief. Dizon has been directed to conduct a full organizational sweep and ensure public funds are used solely for infrastructure that protects and benefits Filipinos. The day before, the DPWH posted a taped video message of Bonoan, who said giving up his position is not the answer to the controversies hounding the department. Meanwhile, lawyer Giovanni Lopez has been named acting secretary of the Department of Transportation, or DOTR, to guarantee continuity in transport modernization programs. Lopez, the undersecretary for Administration, Finance, and Procurement since February, previously held senior posts overseeing railway, aviation, and maritime projects. President Marcos also ordered the creation of an independent body to investigate flood control anomalies, which will review projects, identify irregularities, and recommend accountability measures. The palace said these decisions reflect the administration's firm resolve to clean up corruption, strengthen institutions, and deliver honest and effective public service under a new Philippines.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has issued Executive Order, or EO 93, ordering the Department of Agriculture, or DA, to lead and monitor the implementation of the 60-day suspension of the importation of regular milled and well-milled rice. According to the order signed by the President on August 29th, the suspension of rice imports will be from September 1st to October 30th unless shortened or extended. The 60-day suspension does not cover specialty rice varieties not commonly produced by local farmers. Under EO 93, the DA must work with the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, or DepDev, and the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, and submit comprehensive reports on domestic rice supply and prevailing market prices. The three agencies are required to convene within 30 days of the EO's effectivity to assess its impact and recommend to the President whether to lift or extend the suspension. The period of suspension may be shortened or extended as may be necessary upon the joint recommendation of the DA, DepDev, and the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI. EO 93 mandates the immediate issuance of the necessary guidelines that will be crafted by the DA, in coordination with the Bureau of Customs and the DTI, to ensure the effective implementation of the suspension order. The DA on August 8th attributed the sharp decline in the prices of the country's staple to the strong local production of rice in early 2025 and the heavy arrival of imported rice in the previous months, driven by the reduced tariff rates. The DA recommended the suspension of the importation of regular milled and well-milled rice for 60 days, which will coincide with the peak of harvest season, to enable the domestic market to absorb the local supply, stabilize prices, and help Filipino farmers sell their palay or unhusked rice at a fair and reasonable price. EO 93, which was made public on Saturday, takes effect immediately upon publication in the Official Gazette or in a newspaper of general circulation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang over the weekend sought constructive suggestions instead of criticisms to help the government address the country's recurring flood control problems. This came after acting Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte criticized the Marcos administration for the so-called ghost flood control projects. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is open to suggestions to address irregularities in the implementation of flood control projects. In a text message to reporters, Castro said, President Marcos is continuously taking action to address the issues of anomalous flood control projects, and if they have sensible suggestions, the President is open to listening to everyone. Castro, however, said criticisms intended to discredit the administration are not helpful. The Palace Press Officer also stressed that it would be better if the Dutertes provided an update on the 13,917 flood control projects implemented under the past administration. She said they could have helped by informing the public about the current status of the projects. President Marcos has launched the Sumbong sa Pangulo platform to allow the public to lodge complaints against ineffective flood control projects.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said the Office of Solicitor General, or OSG, will file a comment on the petition challenging the constitutionality of Republic Act, or RA 12232, which moves the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, or BSKE, from December 1st, 2025 to the first Monday of November 2026. In a text message to reporters, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Palace would defer to the OSG as the Philippine government's legal counsel to respond to the Supreme Court or SC order for the executive branch to comment on the petition. The SC has consolidated the three petitions against the BSKE postponement. SC spokesperson Camille Ting said no temporary restraining order has been issued in the meantime. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on August 13th signed RA 12232, moving the BSKE from December 2025 to November 2026 and fixing the term of office of village and youth officials at 4 years. President Marcos said the postponement of the village polls will allow the government to focus on the first-ever parliamentary elections in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, scheduled October 13th.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine senators on Sunday welcomed the appointment of former Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon as the new chief of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, expressing hope that his leadership would bring long overdue reforms and stamp out corruption in the agency. Senate President Francis Escudero said Dizon is facing immense challenges but also an opportunity to confront the deeply entrenched problems that have long plagued the DPWH. Escudero assured that the Senate is ready to support reforms that would make public works more efficient and transparent. Senate President pro tempore Jinggoy Estrada cited Dizon's performance at the Department of Transportation, saying he expects the same brand of leadership at DPWH. Estrada, however, lamented the resignation of Secretary Manuel Bonoan, a DPWH veteran who he said upheld integrity but was let down by lower-rank officials involved in ghost projects. Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva said Dizon's appointment would be pivotal in cleansing the agency, citing his no-nonsense approach to governance and the full trust of the president. Senator Panfilo Lacson also described the move as a hard decision and a good choice, praising Dizon's relentless work ethic in the transportation sector. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian was equally optimistic, calling Dizon an action man and a man of integrity, while urging him to prioritize jailing corrupt officials and contractors to regain public trust. Senator J.V. Ejercito said Dizon faces a daunting task in restoring faith in the scandal-ridden agency. Senator Erwin Tulfo emphasized the need for swift action under Dizon's leadership. Tulfo added that with DPWH beset by irregularities in flood control projects, an aggressive secretary is needed to end the collusion among contractors, public work officials, and other public officials. Senator Loren Ligarda also wished Dizon all the best in the most difficult task ahead.
Dateline Malacañang.
We interrupt our regularly scheduled program to give way to a special presidential event.
Mula sa Presidential Communications Office at Radyo Pilipinas, ito ang Presidential Live Event. Presidential Live Event.
Upo po tayo. Ang ating butihing Trade and Industry Secretary Chris Roque, ang Small Business Corporation President and CEO Robert Bastillo. Siyempre, pinakamahalaga rito yung mga nakatanggap ng Turismo Asenso Loan Program. Kayong pinakamahalaga dahil kayong nangunguna dito sa programang ito. Kaya sa magiging halimbawa ng inyong gagawin dito sa programa natin na Asenso Loan, ay malalaman, magkakalat yan sa lahat ng iba't ibang MSMEs sa turismo at para malaman nila na may ganitong klaseng programa at pag naging successful, mas lalo pang madadagdagan yan. Dahil siyempre, we always, as they say, we always invest in success. My fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. Isa na ang turismo sa mga haligi ng ating ekonomiya. Nagdadala ito ng kabuhayan at pag-unlad sa libo-libong maliliit na negosyo saan man nasulok ng ating bansa. Sa bawat welcome at mabuhay na sinasambit ng tour guide, sa bawat lutong bahay, sa karinderya, sa bawat serbisyong may ngiti, nariyan kayo. Ang ating mga lokal na negosyante sa turismo. Kayo ang bumubuhay sa industriya ng turismo at tumutulong sa paglago ng ating mga komunidad. Kaya naman, patuloy ang pamahalaan sa pagsulong ng mga programang sumusuporta sa inyo. Isa na rito ang Turismo Asenso Loan Program na bunga ng pagtutulungan ng Department of Tourism at Department of Trade and Industry, katuwang ang Small Business Corporations. Layunin ng programang ito na gawing mas abot kamay ang puhunan para sa mga MSME sa turismo. Ngayong araw, ipinagkaloob natin ang loan packages sa 9 na tourism-related MSMEs mula sa NCR at saka sa Region 4A. Sa pamamagitan ng mga loan na ito, matutulungan natin ang ating mga MSMEs na sila ay mapalago ang inyong mga negosyo. Napahusay ang kalidad ng serbisyo upang maipakita ang tatak ng ating ipinagmamalaki na Filipino hospitality. Higit sa lahat, makakapagbigay ng mas magandang kinabukasan para sa inyong pamilya at komunidad. Kaya patuloy ang pamahalaan sa pagpapatupad ng mga programang nagbibigay ng oportunidad sa ating mga MSMEs. Ang ilan sa mga ito ay negosyo centers, go local, tourist rest areas, mga trade fair na tumutulong sa promosyon ng ating mga lokal na produkto. Layunin ng mga ito na gawing simple, abot-kaya at epektibo ang paghahatid ng serbisyo at pagbebenta ng produkto. Kaya naman sa DOT, DTI at SBC Corp, tiyakin ninyong abot ng Turismong Asenso Loan Program at iba pang tulong sa buong panig ng bansa. Palawakin pa ang impormasyon ukol dito, gawing simple ang proseso, at tiyakin na maraming MSMEs ang makikinabang, lalo na ang mga nasa malalayong lugar. Sa ating mga tourism workers at stakeholders, mula lungsod hanggang malalayong isla, kayo ang dahilan kung bakit pinapalakas natin ang suporta para sa mga maliliit na negosyo sa turismo. At sa mga lokal na komunidad, sa industriya ng sining, sa mga hospitality providers, saludo naman kami sa inyong lahat. Dahil sa inyo, mas lumalalim ang paghanga at pagkakilala ng mga turista sa mga ipinagmamalaki natin dito sa Pilipinas. Ngayon, mas pinipili na ng mga turista ang mga aktibidad na mas makabuluhan, mga karanasan mas malapit sa lokal na kultura at pamumuhay. What they call this is experiential tourism. Hindi lang maaari nakaupo lang sa beach at nagpapaaraw o basta kumakain lang na kumakain at nagiinuman lang. Kailangan meron silang pinupuntahan, may makita silang bagong kultura, meron silang makitang lugar na hindi nila nakikita sa ibang lugar. At pero para sa atin, mga Pilipino, ang pinakamahalaga na maramdaman nila at maranasan nila ang hospitality ng Pilipino. Alam naman natin yan ang pinagmamalaki natin sa lahat. At siguro baka magtampo sa akin ang mga kaibigan kong dayuhan, pero sa palagay ko tayo lang mga Pinoy ang may ganyan. Babiyahe ang pamilya sa mga hindi pa nila napupuntahan. Titikman ang mga pagkain kilala sa lugar at maglilibot sa mga bayan at lokal na merkado. Sa ganitong mga paglalakbay, mas nauunawaan at mas hinahangaan ng mga turista ang kwento ng bawat lugar. May kahulugan ang bawat koneksyon sa mga taong nakakasalamuha, sa mga pagkain bago sa kanilang panlasa at sa mga tanawing bihira nilang masilayan. Kaya sama-sama natin ipagmalaki ang ganda ng Pilipinas, hindi lamang sa ating tanawin, kung hindi higit sa lahat sa talento, sipag at galing ng bawat Pilipino. Maraming salamat at mabuhay sa ating mga MSMEs. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. as he led the Turismo Ascenso Loan Awarding Ceremony held at the Marriott Grand Ballroom in Pasay City.
Mula sa Presidential Communications Office at Radyo Pilipinas, ito ang Presidential Live Event. Presidential Live Event.
Moving on to our program, and finally, 20 overseas Filipino workers or OFWs from Jeddah successfully returned to the country on Saturday evening on board Saudi Airlines Flight SV870 that landed at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 1. The OFWs were welcomed by representatives from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA and officials from the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW and Manila International Airport Authority or MIA medical team, where they were immediately provided medical checkup, financial assistance, and hot meals to rest following their long trip. In addition, the OFWs were also assisted with their airport and immigration processing, provided transport assistance, and if needed, temporary accommodation before they return to their respective provinces and finally be with their loved ones. Earlier, a total of 70 OFWs from Kuwait arrived at the NAIA Terminal 3 on board separate flights Emirates Flight EK336 on board 45 OFWs, and Gulf Air Flight GF154 25 OFWs. They were also welcomed by representatives from OWA and the MIA medical team to ensure their safety and provide necessary assistance. As part of standard repatriation processing, each OFW has undergone medical checkup and provided necessary airport assistance, including immigration facilitation, financial assistance, transport assistance, as well as temporary accommodation. OWA, in coordination with various government agencies, continues to ensure that every OFW return home safely to their families and provided necessary support to start a new life in the country. Meanwhile, the second batch of seafarers of the ship MSC Elsa III also arrived at the NAIA Terminal 3 on Saturday evening. They are comprised of 7 seafarers that safely returned to the country on board Etihad Airways flight EY446. The seafarers were welcomed by representatives of OWA along with the DMW, MIA medical team, and their agency representatives to ensure that they are medically sound and provided necessary assistance. This follows the first batch of MSC Elsa III seafarers that arrived in the country on August 28th. Just like the first batch, the seafarers were given financial assistance, medical checkup, immigration assistance, transport assistance to help them return home safely to their families, as well as temporary accommodation.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that concludes today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.